What is going on, friends? Sean Don coming back with a technical analysis. Here we have Miles Clark, a high school senior. So, love to see it. He's throwing just over 150 in hammer and 53 in weight. And really not really training the weight either, so there's definitely a lot of potential there. So, stoked to help him out. So, before we get into today's video, I just want to let you guys know if you're interested in any online coaching for yourself, just like this video, or you want throws programming, lifting programming, more consistent technical input, go check out my website, gripperrip.co. Go to the coaching services page and sign up now because indoor season's starting up pretty soon. Outdoor season's going to be here before we know it. So start working with your boy and level up your technique, level up your hammer skills, throwing skills in general, and go achieve your goals. Yeah, I want to help you guys out. So yeah, let's take a look at Miles's throw here. He sent me a few hammer vids, a couple weight vids. I figured hammer would be the thing to analyze, seeing as you don't really train the weight. But yeah, this was, I think, probably, there were two throws I was split between that kind of looked like the average of your technique. You had one throw where you kind of rushed the finish a little bit, and then you had one or two pretty solid throws, and then this and one of the other ones was, like I said, a good average. I think there's some things going wrong, but you stick with it pretty well. So like I said, if this is your average technique, that's not too shabby. So hopefully all the input I give you on this video will really be useful to you. So let's break it down. So 2 lines, 4 turns, high school senior. Love to see it. Love to help out the next generation. So you're starting pretty wide base, athletic position, square at the back of the circle. As you bring the hammer back, starting from the ground, bring it forwards, kind of around, and this is a thing I've talked about in a few technical analysis videos over the past couple months, is you bring the hammer around out in front of you, and I think this is just a byproduct of where you're facing. Your head's at 0, your shoulders are square to 0, your hips, everything's square to 0. So as we go through, I'll kind of talk about why maybe that's not the best thing, and perhaps maybe why you should try to open up and turn back and face the right a little bit more, or even kind of offset, kind of stagger yourself in the ring. So left foot more at, it doesn't have to be at 0, but maybe just a little bit more towards 0. And I'm speaking, of course, from your perspective. That is your left foot. Camera view right foot, but your left foot. But yeah, so you start, and then you bring the hammer kind of across your body. As you see, your eyes are already kind of peeking, opening up a little bit. But you open up, and you can see you are trying to reach back and connect pretty early, and your shoulders do have a little bit of rotation to them, but just kind of based on where the hips are at. I don't think you're going to be able to quite open up and connect as early as you'd like, but this is just the first wind. So like I said, wide base, pretty stable. It's only 12-pound hammer, so I think you should be pretty decent with that. Hands kind of come down a little bit, but as you're building some tension, some centripetal force in the throw, that's not unusual. And then as you go into the second one, which is more important, you can see you're shifting back over to that right, countering the ball when it's out to the left, opening up the shoulders, and then yeah, you can see as you come back, you are opening up, but you can see there's a lot of tension coming across this left arm. Your eyes are facing back at 0. And then as you go through entry, you also kind of sink that right side down. See, you're shifting into that left hip and kind of giving to the hammer a little bit. This little motion right there. Boom. So then you can see that right side kind of comes down, that left side's high across the body. Your right elbow's down towards your hip. And then as you go through entry, you're setting up that left side pretty well based on where you're starting in the circle. So kind of when I talk about a stable left side, when you do start square to the back of the circle, it does make it a little bit harder to tell how stable that left side is. But as you go through 0, left hip, shoulder, knee, foot, left side's pretty stable. But I do, and this is another weird thing that I've just never really been a fan of. Can't quite say there's much science behind it, but whenever I see this right elbow really down by the side, that usually tells me that that left side's going to take over for the rest of the throw. So that's just my own anecdotal experience from all these years of doing analyses and my own experience in throwing. See that right elbow down, you see that left shoulder up, left arm across. And it looks like you really don't connect with the hammer until about there or so, until just after the ball gets to 0. So what I would like to see is, like I said, maybe change your position in the circle a little bit, but the biggest thing is getting your hips open and getting your shoulders open more to that right side, to the right side of the cage, to 270, whatever terminology you want to use. Because, like I said, your head's always kind of facing 0, and the head's always facing 0. That means you're going to kind of connect with it a little bit late, where if your head's facing, let's say, 45 degrees before 0, or even, you know, towards 270, it gives you an opportunity to open up the shoulders a little bit more and connect with the ball closer to 180 back behind you. And that's kind of the hallmark of a good entry. If you can feel that tension coming right off 180 and feel a nice long sweep or push or whatever terminology you want to use from 180 wide out to the right towards 270 and then long 3-0, that means you're going to feel a lot of tension and connection coming from the ball. And it's going to set things up pretty well as long as you don't do anything crazy to mess it up. But hands are still kind of down in entry as well too. Perhaps you could be a little bit more postured up, so chest up, hips underneath you a little bit more. As the ball goes left though, left side's looking connected, right side is a little bit behind, and then as you go through entry, but you are setting up very long left, so good on you, good job. And with the ball being so long left, you do have plenty of time to sneak that right leg under, even though it is coming off a little bit disconnected. Like I said, with this little plantar flexion, your right hip isn't quite connected to it, and you get kind of that, not quite butt kick, but you're not really getting the hip flexion on this right leg, that knee up, toe up sort of thing, in single support, but you do have it set up pretty well so you can catch, and you still catch with the ball before 270, which is a good thing. Hips a little bit back away from the hammer, but not bad. You do get a little bit of direction forwards in the feet, looking at left foot to right foot. Your right foot's a little bit more in the direction of the sector, which is good. Gives you some pressure, some tension to work with. And then you catch. Like I said, the hips just look a little bit back away from the hammer right now. Your shirt's a little baggy, so it's hard to tell for sure. But just kind of looking at this position, to me, it looks like your hips are just back a little bit. So we'll see what happens from there. That left heel grounds just as the ball hits 0. So this position is pretty solid. A side view would be interesting. I'd probably say that your hips look, once again, like they're a little bit back away from the hammer rather than completely underneath you. And then what happens is with that, when their hips are out back away from you, you're going to end up kind of pulling that left side back to settle yourself over your hips. So like as the ball goes to the left, you can see as you go through 0, you're getting back against the ball, and then you can see your left leg kind of tightening up, straightening out, and your weight shifts back over to your right side, which is good, but you can see there's just a little bit of disconnect in the hips. If you look at the angle of the torso to your femurs, there's, or even just your torso in general, could be a little bit more upright, or rather, shoulders are fine where they are, really see your hips a little bit more forward, so you get a little bit more bend in that knee, and then connect the hips a little bit more. And you can see you are kind of leading it with that left side. You see this right side start to kind of turn off, that left foot opens up, flops open, and then you see your legs kind of splitting, so that left foot pointed almost to 180 while your right foot's still back pointed towards, let's say, 60 or 70 degrees. And then with that stiffer left leg, you're not really going to see that drop forwards into the throw to find that direction forwards. As you can see, your left leg's pretty stiff, and then once it finally does start bending, it starts dropping more towards 270 rather than 180. So a cue for you to think about is connect that right hip more, step to the high point, and then drop that left knee forward towards 180 right about in this area. Or as, let's say, as the ball gets to the red sector line, you think about stepping forwards, dropping that left knee forwards, getting over that toe a little bit more. Like I said, it just looks like that left ankle and that left knee is kind of stiff, which then kind of contributes to that left side pulling. And then you step here, and now it's like I said, this is an average. So like I saw 2 throws where we ended up over rotating on this second catch. And that's kind of exactly what you said was happening in your throw. You tend to over rotate, you stand up and get tall in the legs, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, if you start tall and you stay at that one level for the entire throw, that's a good thing. But if you start low and then you rise up at the wrong time, it's not a good thing. And if you never really drop down, like I said, you're kind of missing that left knee kind of flexion in single support, then that can cause some problems, which we kind of see here where you go to step and then you catch late. Ball's probably just after 270 here. You can see your right foot closer to the back of the circle compared to your left. And then from there, the only thing, so at this point your body's like, oh shit, I've lost tension. What do I do? So that left side's going to pull more to create the tension so it feels some stability. So it's kind of like a overarching theme in the hammer throw. If you don't feel tension or connection from the hammer, your body's going to create it, and it's usually going to do so in a way that's not the most efficient, which is, like I said, pulling the left side. So catch a little bit late. That left heel grounds probably right about there. So just after the ball gets to zero. So like I said, you're a little bit late on everything because that end of double support and that single support movement prior to the catch of this turn is just a little bit inefficient. You see, so this left side starts pulling back a little bit more. You start to see your hips kind of turning inside of the hammer, and you're just a little bit late. I like to see this sort of line of force up through the right leg and through the left shoulder. More at zero, though. As you can see, it looks like you don't really get that right leg working up through that left shoulder until the ball's after zero through here. And you see you start to pull that left side across. You see this left leg open up a little bit early, get a little bit of flop in the left leg, and then that right hip's trying to turn with it, but you can see you're extending up, pulling yourself up out of the orbit. But you're still keeping the hands out away from the body, which is really good. This sort of thing here is good, especially learning to throw hammer early on. Feeling that ball up and out away from you is a pretty good thing. It's just you got to kind of reorientate your lower body. Connect it with the hammer a little bit better because like you see that left side opens up, straightens out, you stand up a little bit, and then same sort of thing, that left leg straightens out, and then you never really get that drop forward towards 180, so that left knee dropping towards 180. It doesn't really drop until you get into here. So it's just about a little bit late. So you're doing the right things. It's just about 30, 45 degrees late in terms of the grand scheme of the throw. You catch, you gain a little bit of ground, I think, from pulling that left side a little bit earlier. You can see your right foot's still on the ground when the ball's at, let's say, 120, 130, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think when people put too much emphasis on keeping that right foot on the ground really long, and in fact, I think it causes some problems. But so that right foot comes off a little bit late, and you go to catch. Like I said, you stay nice and long and relax with the upper body, so you're able to salvage something here. Better catch position here, a little bit of over rotation. Your feet are even, not a bad thing, but not ideal. Like I said, I'd like to see that right foot a little bit more forwards. That kind of says that you're letting the ball grow a little bit forwards and get some direction on it. But you go to catch, decent, hips still a little bit back. And then you can see now you're starting to really try to work that right side. You can see that right foot turning. And it looks just like hands are a little bit down, so maybe orbit's a little bit steep on you. The left heel grounds, same sort of thing. It doesn't really ground until the ball gets to zero, or maybe just after. And then you start to see your body's like, where's the tension at? So it starts creating it by turning that left foot open. And then you can see yourself kind of pull back a little bit and shorten the orbit around the left. And then you start to see that ball get a little bit high on you, your legs straightening out once again, pretty stiff left knee through 180, and then as you go to drop, it happens just a little bit late again, which is usually the theme of the throw. Whatever happens earlier in the throw is going to repeat itself later in the throw, if not even get worse throughout the throw. But you go to catch, not bad, a little bit of separation here, a little bit of tension, and then you can see initially your first movement when you do catch the ball as you see this left side start to turn. You see your hands kind of get low on you, this left shoulder rises up, and then you're kind of coming like cross body finish, and you kind of pull off, weight pretty heavy on the right, but not bad. Like I said, you did have a throw that was better than this, so I'm perhaps maybe sounding a little bit harsh, but yeah. So like I said, this all kind of goes back to, this is also one of my longest technical analyses in a while, but to go back to the start, like I said, open up a little bit more, open up to the right side, really think about reaching that right hand back, that right elbow back towards 180, back behind you, and really trying to connect and open up and feel that ball kind of swing or sweep through 270, 30, and then wide out to the left, because like I said, it just looks a little bit short on that right side in the entry, which then is going to lend itself to some left side leading. So yeah, overall pretty solid though. You're doing the right things. You're new to the sport, and it looks like it's might be a fruitful pursuit for you. So yeah, Just got to learn to turn with the hammer a little bit better, maybe get your hips under yourself a little bit more, and then feel that right side working. Like I said, if you set up better tension and connection in the entry, everything else is going to get better. That left side's going to probably pull less. So you just need to find a little bit more stability in that left side, and then stay down in the legs. Or rather, just start tall and stay tall. You don't need to think about starting super low or anything like that, because after all, it's kind of what happens throughout the throw, rather than how you start versus how you finish and all that stuff. So yeah, just stay one level. Don't think about popping the hips up. Stay down. You don't need to be super low. You just don't want the hips to rise up more than they do in the previous part of the turn. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense. If you have any questions, Miles, let me know. And if you need any coaching in the future, you being a young high schooler, hit your boy up. Happy to help. Excited to see what you can do in the future. So yeah, and same for anybody else out there. If you're interested in a technical analysis, if you've watched this far into the video, chances are you're probably interested in hammer technique. So go check out my website, gripandrip.co, sign up for an online technical analysis, sign up for some online throws programming, all right? And start making gains, dropping bombs this indoor and outdoor season. All right, thanks for watching. Until next time, Sean Don signing off.